It's Monday night. Welcome to Monday Night Comics. Only on Comics with Dan. It's Monday night.
Welcome, everyone. Welcome to Monday Night Comics. Welcome to Comics with Dan. Tonight, we are going to have special guest Zach Chapman, and he is going to be talking with us about a book that he has coming out, self-published on Kickstarter, called Dino Knights. And I thought it was a really cool book when he sent it to me. I very much get Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle vibes. So I'm excited to talk with him and have you guys part of that conversation. So make sure you get in the comments and make sure that you ask Zach any questions you might have about the book. And we'll also talk a little bit about what else I've read and what's coming up. So we'll talk about that first. So let me just pull up my reading stats here. I'm actually not 100% sure how to do that on League of Comic Geeks, but we'll still share the League of Comic Geeks here. So let's see. What did I read recently? I'm honestly a little new to the website of League of Comic Geeks. I don't read it. I don't use the website nearly as much as I use the actual app. So let's see if we can find out how to. Maybe I can go here and do my reading log this way. Yeah, comic reading log. There we go. Perfect. And you see we got Adam West Batman dancing up there, of course. So let's start with this. Let's start with Ice Cream Man. Okay. Ice Cream Man number 43. So I don't pull Ice Cream Man. However, I do like to pick up copies of Ice Cream Man when I get the chance. Last one I read was 41. And I believe before that I read 34. But I picked up issue 41 because, and I'll pull back to that one. I picked up issue 41 because of the James Bond cover. Awesome, fantastic cover. And so I knew that in January we had 43 coming out, and Ice Cream Man's been teasing, or Image has been teasing, all the creators that are going to be working on this book. So we've got Grant Morrison, we've got Zoe Thorogood, Denise Camp, lots of different people. And the whole spiel is that they have one-page horror stories. And so it honestly, reading this, it felt like I was like reading comic history, right? I don't think that it was like the greatest book I've ever read. It's not, honestly not, of the 3 issues of Ice Cream Man that I've read, it's not the best issue of Ice Cream Man I've read, but I just love the creativity there. I think that the one-page horror stories, and they work well too. I mean, there's a couple where they try to fit them into the one-page format, and it was a little difficult to understand. But overall, they're all drawn by Martin Morazzo and Chris O'Halloran. But the stories are good. I mean, I think that if I had to pick, a lot of my favorites were the ones written by W. Maxwell Prince himself anyway. Candy World was a good one. It's just set up like a Candyland board, which I thought was funny and pretty cool. And then there was another one, Oxy Come Down. That was a good one. That was another W. Maxwell Prince one. uh, Zoe Thorogood's. Hers was about her brother, so it was really just very touching. So the yeah, so I think that if you see this on stands, I mean, I would recommend picking it up. Uh, if not for any other reason than just to have sort of a piece of comic history, to have these one pagers kind of coming in. So, all right, and now I have who just joined, Zach Chapman. Welcome, Zach. How are you doing?
Doing good. Sorry, I was running a little late. I was my day job ran till 8 o'clock, and I
Oh
just
wow,
yeah. But anyways, yeah. How's it
I
going?
know what that's like. Yeah, no, it's good. It's good. I'm excited that you were able to join, and I'm excited to talk to you about Dino Knights. I really enjoyed. I read the first two issues that you had sent. I'm excited. I'm going to read the other ones that you sent as well, but I really like the first two. But so I guess just to kick things off, like, can you walk me through how Dino Knights became a thing? Right? Like, how did it start?
Oh man. How did it start? So, um, I guess I wanted to put a lot of things that I really love together in a more mainstream and like in a format that's like a little bit more digestible than the normal type of stuff that I write.
Mhm,
So and it's funny because Dino Knights, it's like a part of it is it has a lot of stuff that's new wave science fiction, but I try to boil it down to like make it really simple,
mhm,
or not necessarily simple, but just like more streamlined and like more approachable to a more general audience than like someone who like obsesses over like science fiction from the 1970s or whatever.
mhm.
So,
Yeah.
and then another big part of it is the dying earth subgenre, which is like a 1950s like science fantasy type thing. And
Mhm,
so I tried to like crunch all of that into like a bunch of stuff that I really love into a series, and then just make characters that I want to hang out with and kind of give them like voice. So that's how it started. And I saw you were looking at Ice Cream Man, and I'm like a big horror guy. Uh,
mhm,
House of Blood was like kind of like my, I guess, debut into like indie Kickstarter comics. And so I like EC stuff. I
yeah,
love horror and I love science fiction, but this is more of like my, more all, not necessarily all ages, but like it's just, I guess, more mainstream, I guess, for just,
yeah.
because I think like horror is like also very digestible, but I don't know. I kind of wanted to try something new, so that's what
Mhm.
this is. And I've been spending about over a year and a half putting this together, and then I'm probably gonna, I'm stepping into like marketing for it now, so I'm like a
Okay.
little bit away from the writing process and the lettering and the editing. I still am, but yeah, so that's where I'm at. That's, I guess, how it
Nice.
started.
Yeah, yeah. No, I mean that's great. And so I can see the various sort of like science fiction inspirations throughout. Um and I, like, as I mentioned when I was emailing with you, that like the obvious like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle inspiration, but and I also said Street Sharks, but I don't know if anybody's gonna I don't know if anybody knows what Street Sharks is.
I hope people
I hope
do.
they do. I hope so too. But it's still, what's nice about it is I think that where a lot of books, shows, whatever, inspired by properties like that can sometimes feel like they're just copying what's already there. This still feels really fresh because it has the Arthurian stuff attached to it. It has, um, I mean, it's the time travel piece of it. You don't see obviously in Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, Street Sharks, like any of that stuff, right? So it has its own elements that make it its own thing and make it great. So it's inspired but not copying. So I think it's
Yeah,
great.
I forgot to even mention, like, I'm pretty inspired by the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle films from the 90s.
Yeah.
Like, I watched those on repeat growing up. Also the IDW run is like, it's solid. I mean, sometimes it's great and sometimes it's solid, but it's definitely worth reading, and it's definitely like a huge inspiration as far as like, hey, this like works as a comic, and like it's ongoing. And that was the thing where it's like, I can put all this like weird stuff that I like, and there has been like successful ongoing comics that like go everywhere. Like they go in all kinds of directions as far as like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Like like there's a lot of different themes, a lot of different like arcs. I mean, when you have that many issues, you know, you have to. But and then the original run, I'm actually just starting to read now, and
Okay.
it's pretty cool too. But it's very different.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I guess my main, like, the thing that's like really in my heart is like those original movies. Like,
Yeah.
I watched those on repeat.
Yeah. I just showed those movies to my kids for the first time this past year,
Yeah,
and I say they hold up. They like them. I like them still, you know. I mean, obviously they feel a little more goofy now watching them watching them, 25 years later.
yeah.
So, but they're still fantastic. My kids love them, and I still really enjoy them. Um,
I'm glad that you said that your kids love them, because like I was thinking like, I have kids, but they're too young to like watch a movie all the way
okay.
through, unless they're like really sick and they're like
Right.
home
Just
from school or
zoned out in
whatever.
front. Yeah.
But but yeah, I was thinking like, oh, are kids gonna be bored by this? So it's
Mhm.
good. It's kind of heartwarming that they're into it. So
Yeah. 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 Absolutely. Yeah. And so, um, and like being able to share comics with my kids is just like it's awesome. Like we also just got through the first it's like the first like 40 issues of the Sonic IDW run. So and now we're reading I actually have it back here. Now we're going through the Batman Adventures omnibus. So
nice.
yeah, so I love I mean I love all ages comics because I think like I know a lot of people will some people will say comics are just for kids. Some people will say, well, comics aren't just for kids. And I agree that they're not just for kids. However, they originally started out as something that kids were able to read, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
So having it be able to be read by kids is great. But um so I want to talk about the character design here because I really like how you are meshing together the knights, the Dino Knights side of it, right? And a sort of like a punk rock look, right? So what is and I think even I don't have the my iPad with me that I was reading them on, but um I think even in one of the frames, one of the panels, no, I don't have it. There's a poster in the background that says punk rock on it. So how much of an inspiration was whether it's punk rock or other music did
Oh yeah.
this play
I'm
in
glad you
Dino
got
Night?
that. Actually, I was talking to an artist. Um, I when I so I didn't design the well, I mean, I helped design that. I
Right.
wrote a ton of stuff, but Dave
Right.
Swartz
Okay.
did the first two issues, and so he did a lot of the designing of many of the characters.
Hmm.
Um, but on all of the characters, I had like what genre and what bands they listen to.
Mm.
And yeah, I'm a huge fan of basically all genres of punk rock. But I mean, I get like I don't go to as many shows as I used to, but I mean, yeah, like 2 years ago, I broke my elbow and ribs and brain stage diving. So
Wow.
yeah, at a drain and drain show, and what else was it? There was some other hardcore bands there, but yeah, I mean I like hardcore punk, and I also like pop punk. I mean, I don't discriminate. So
Yeah.
yeah, so and you could tell like these nights, some of them are like maybe more metalheads, and some of them are more maybe like pop punk, and
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Archie has metalhead vibes to me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. So what are some of the bands that some of the different characters listen to? So
Oh,
we have
well,
Archie. What does Archie listen to?
so, well, I would say that Archie, so one of them, Archie he comes from like the actual Arthurian time. So they got split when
Right.
they were sent back. And so Archie, he's kind of more of like, classic rock, classical music in general, but they're introducing him to stuff, right?
Right.
At least in my head canon. That's not like written down
Right.
yet, at
Right.
least not yet. But Percy, who's kind of the narrator, he's the one with the mohawk. He's like Blink 182, like any kind of like mainstream punk. He's all about it. And then Vance, who's the Triceratops. Yeah, he's definitely like your metalcore, like Lorna Shore, like Metallica, heavy, like he's like the heavy stuff.
Right.
And yeah, and then Ave, she listens to like video game soundtracks and like that sort of thing. So
yeah,
and she actually has, if you look, she actually it's so explicit in the design of her that she has headphones on pretty much.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah, around her neck on the front there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah. No, that's great. I mean, I think that music and comics just go so well together. I think probably even more than people even realize. The last stream that I had, I was talking with a writer, and we were talking about hip hop and how hip hop and comics are so intertwined, and talking about MF Doom and stuff like that. So yeah, no, I mean, I think it's just, the music inspiration, I think, just always adds a great level to it.
I feel like Percy's definitely an MF Doom. Like any MF Doom's like he's a very popular hip hop artist, like for a certain demographic, and that's like basically if you're at like writing comic books at a coffee shop in Austin, you'll probably hear MF Doom if the coffee shop's cool.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, definitely. But so I, again, like we mentioned before, the Arthurian background here, Archie starts out in those times. He gets disconnected. I'm not going to spoil how that happens, because I thought that was one of the coolest parts of the first issue. And I actually didn't include any of the images from that part of the issue, because I think that's too much spoiler for me. I think it's one of the best parts of the first issue. So,
cool.
But do you have like an affinity for the Arthurian legends, or is this something new that you're exploring, or have you always liked them, or what's sort of your background there?
Yeah, I definitely have affinity for them. I'm not like a scholar or anything, but I like T.H. White's Once and Future King. Actually, so the way that my Merlin functions is like really similar to the way so that's like the second most, like, I guess, like famous interpretation of Arthurian lore. Like
Right.
T.H. White, like he like kind of rewrote it and made it much more accessible. And that's actually what the Sword the Stone, the first book in that, it's a multiple book series. But they collect it now in a really big book. I want to say it was like written over the course of a long time, like 20s through the 60s. But yeah, anyways, the Disney movies a little bit based off of that version. But the Merlin actually kind of like flows, like it's very strange, but if you pay attention to, in mine, it's very explicitly stated how my Merlin works, which is like he has an accident and he experiences time where he's actually moving backwards through time. So when he sees you for the first time, he's seeing you for the last time that he knows, like he knows it. So so that's why he's able to tell like things that will happen in the future, because they're the past for him. It's very weird if you think about it, and I think it like starts breaking down, but that's how T.H. White had Merlin. And so I was like, I like that. Which is very weird and very like also like new wave science fiction-y, even though he was writing like 60 years before that. But yeah, so I like that. And then I'm also reading, it's a bit harder, but like the La Morte, which is like the definitive like 1500s, like this like French person was like in a prison and he wrote all of them. And that's like what, if you read Arthurian stuff, or if you're like an Arthurian scholar, it's either all based off of that or like actual French, like not English stuff. That's like the very first English written Arthurian thing. So I'm reading that. I mean, I was reading it before, and then it's it's dense. It's still like you can still read it. Like anyone can read it. It's it actually like it's fine. But yeah, I kind of like read like half of it, and I'm like, I kind of, I float around. I go to so many different things, so I haven't found it, but I know how it ends. I mean, it's called the death. It's like literally the translation's like the death of King Arthur. So spoiler alert.
Yeah. No, it's like you said, it's like if Christopher Nolan directed Benjamin Button.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and so my take on this is like I'm trying to like I throw a lot, and I'm not sure if like all of this stuff is sticking. So like you've read an arc, and like it gets more like arc-y toward like advanced review copy towards the later issues, where I just have like placeholder jokes. But like I'm pretty heavy-handed with like the references, which is not my typical style, but I just wanted to see if it works, if it's working, if it's not. But I don't know. I think like there's a lot of pop culture, and it's because the voice, it's like if Michelangelo from the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was like narrating the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. So it's like that's the voice, and it's like if and it was hard. Like that was a creative decision that I made in issue 1 as like a necessity. But then when I sent it to my friends and they ended up liking it, I was like, okay, well, we'll stick with this, because the necessity is that this first issue, if there was no narration, it would not be representative of what's to come, because like it's all Arthurian. Like there's like 2 panels where it's not Arthurian.
In the first issue,
or two pages, which are basically just 2 panels or 3 panels.
Yeah. Now, and so to be honest with the narration, I've read issues 1 and 2 twice. Right, I read them a little while back, and then I read them recently, and I enjoyed issue number 1 more after realizing that Percy was narrating. So because I think it made me feel like I could picture him, talking, right, and narrating this story. So I and then once you read issue number 2, like, he's narrating because he says as much, but yeah, so and it's funny you say Michelangelo because that's also what I thought about. Is just like he's the goofy one of the group for sure.
Yeah.
You know, and so that's the role that Michelangelo takes in his as well. And so I think, this might be kind of an obvious one, right? Because I know you said like you're taking things that you love and putting them into one comic, right? So the Dino Knights run a game shop, right? So are you big on what, both video games, RPGs like D&D, Warhammer, things like that? Are those big in your life?
Yeah, well, I mean, I have I have children now, and I have
Yeah.
I make comic books, and I have a job, so it's like I have a very limited amount of free time. Like most of
Yeah.
my free time goes to making. I mean, you read it. It goes to making that.
Yeah.
So but if I had more free time, I would be doing that stuff a lot more. But it did play. I not so much D&D, but I liked tabletop skirmish games, things
Okay.
like Warhammer. I didn't actually play Warhammer, but I played the shit out of this game called Battles of Westeros, and this is
Okay.
before there was like, it was officially licensed a Song of Ice and Fire,
Yeah.
like, board game before the show.
Oh
So
wow.
it was like super legit. It had like all of like the first, I think it was like when the first 2 books came out.
Mhm.
And I got into it like, I don't know, 2012 maybe, something like that, to 2011, 2012. But yeah, that was cool. Like I would just get into like these like not not super popular board games, and then it would be like, all right, well, no one's playing this, so I would be like,
Right.
teach them to like my friends, and then my friends would be like, I'm bored. Like, I can't sit for 4 hours, and you just like it. They would have like 40-page rule books, so I was super into that.
Yeah.
I now like I can play a video game. I can play a
Mm.
board game as long as it's like I'm not the one reading the 40-page rule book.
Right. Right.
But yeah, I just beat this is actually pretty atypical for me, but I beat the new, not new, but they shadow released the Ninja Gaiden Black 2.
Okay.
Yeah, it was like, not there was no announcement,
Mm.
like there wasn't like any buzz, and then Xbox was like, "Hey, this is on Game Pass." It's like, "What?" So I played through that, and I
Mm.
really enjoyed it. It's like I don't know, it's like an action game, not so much an RPG, but like
Okay.
yeah. But and I'm a big fan of all the original Final Fantasies. I used to play
Mm.
those. I grew up on those, so
Yeah.
there's a lot of references for that kind of stuff
Yeah.
in this. So if you're if you don't like referential humor, I have other stuff that you can check out.
Yeah. No, I think that, I think I understood most of the references. I guess if there were any I didn't understand, I just didn't understand that it was a reference maybe, but I've never gotten into like the tabletop games, not for a lack of interest, but just, like, it sounds like you took like an initiative to like teach your friends how to play, whereas like none of my friends were playing it, so I just didn't play it, you know. So I think that, and obviously like I have kids now too, so like if I could go back and play it when I was in high school and stuff, I probably would. Um but yeah, just seeing like some of the detail that goes like into something like Warhammer is pretty crazy. So
Yeah, I actually beat I can't say I'm a fan of Warhammer, but I did beat the last like Warhammer video game that came out, and it was
okay.
super sick. It's called like um, Space Marine 2.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it's just like, but that was the type of thing where in reality, it's like the exact opposite, like experience wise. It's like instead of learning a bunch of like, like studying rule books and doing like all this tactical stuff. And if I do this, it's like a third person shooter that's like the Doom games. And so I just like I love that. Like it was
Yeah.
great. So that's like more my speed now. So it's like easier on my brain. Like I have to use my brain at work, and then I have to use my brain making comics. So like
Yeah.
I like I'm pretty
Something
dumb,
to shut your brain off. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah. And so what can you tell me about the plans to launch Dino Knights? So it's going to be on Kickstarter. You had mentioned in your email about sort of the packaging that it's going to be about digitally versus subscription based, that sort of thing. So do you want to go through that a little bit?
Sure, yeah. So my idea is I'm gonna package these in. I'm almost done with issue 6, so I'm going to package each Kickstarter with 2 issues, and there's not gonna be like, oh, I buy like issue 5. It's like
Hmm.
it's the standard package is gonna be like 5 and 6, and the reason for that is like it's kind of coming from when I back a Kickstarter, like I want to get I like it when I get more than one issue out of a
Hmm.
thing, but at the same time, like I don't want to just I worked really hard on this, so I don't want to just release a trade paperback.
Yeah.
And also I'm not done. I'm not done with the later issues. I'm done. I'm really close to being done with the first 2 issues. I just have to like rewrite some of the jokes and some of the dialogue and
Hmm.
re-letter some stuff. Um, but yeah, that allows me to like section like and then so when you said like digital, so we'll do physical releases like for them, but like what I want to do is have a digital subscription that
Hmm.
anyone can get at any point of the span of this being ongoing. And so the subscription for the first, but this is going to be digital only, and I'll get into the reasons for that. But
Yeah.
um, the digital only subscription will be like you pay for all 6 issues and you get the first 2, and then when I launch the next one, you get the next 2 like the day it launches.
Right.
So people are backing, but you already get to read it. And then I'll be doing that for the next one. So you'll always be one release ahead
Right.
digitally. Now, physically, the reason I can't do that is because, well, one, like the last issue is just gonna be it it's like 35 issues or maybe or 35 pages or maybe more. So it's like
Hmm.
gonna be oversized. So I can't plan on print costs that far ahead. Like I
Right.
just don't know what it's gonna be, especially now because the tariffs, uh not to get it too much inside baseball, but the tariffs could have a bad impact. I'm not 100% sure, but um m- the thing that okay, so my wife is a musician, and she was making a vinyl record for her
Okay.
band. And um what happened in her industry was Taylor Swift was like, "Oh, vinyl's coming back. I want to print vinyl." There's only so many
Mm.
vinyl printers in America that Warner Brothers went to all, and these were all basically exclusively being used by indies.
Yeah.
And so Warner Brothers went to all of these vinyl places, and it pushed out all of the indie people up by
Mm.
6 months. So it took her months and months and months, and it's more expensive. So basically, because of the tariffs, my concern is that I know that DC used to print in Canada. I don't know if they
Mhm.
still do. I know Marvel
I think they
does.
do. Yeah.
They do. Yeah. I know Marvel 100% does, at
Mhm.
least some of their books. So my concern is that, I mean, those are, those books, they're like 90, they print like 90,000 of each issue. Well,
Right.
maybe not 90, but they print between like 30 and 90,000 of each issue. So just like uh logistically, those are going to have to get printed in America now, which is it's
Right.
a good thing. Like, I don't know if you support that kind of thing, whatever. That's cool. If you are a printer, that's really good news for you. That's
Right.
excellent if you're an American printer. But if you're an indie American comic book creator that uses American printers, then you're probably going to feel a squeeze. And
Yeah, I'm sure. Yeah.
it's gonna probably be like a sick, like you're gonna be waiting longer, and then it's gonna be more expensive. And those are things that I can't predict.
Mhm.
So that's why it's like you can get a digital subscription, and I know what that's gonna cost. Like I know
Right.
there's so that and then I will be running the Kickstarters for the physical ones, and you can still back and get the subscription digitally for the like issues 3 and 4 and then issues 5 and 6. Does that make sense? Do I sound
Makes
like
perfect sense. No,
okay?
no, no. It makes perfect sense, and I'm really glad that you brought up like the tariffs impact because it's going to be huge, right? And I think that regardless of like political position or feelings towards it, it's going to impact things. So, um, I hadn't thought about like vinyls, right? That's really interesting. Sort of, obviously not. I mean, I don't know if there's a similar issue where vinyls are made outside the U.S. or not, but I did know that a lot of comic books are printed in Canada, and so um, what I would hope is that if there's a time period where these US printers are now completely booked up, printing, DC comics, Marvel comics and stuff. And that there is that time period, which is going to suck for, for indie creators, that if then it goes back to where those big companies can go back to printing outside the US, that now these American printers have the funding, the ability, the infrastructure to support printing more indie books. I would hope,
Yeah.
and so, I mean, I think that because I mean, it can't the price of comics can't go up more.
No,
It
no,
can't.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like
Yeah.
I feel like I charge $10 an issue now, and I feel terrible but that's how much. I haven't made the only thing where I'm not in the red is
Hmm.
House of Blood, and it took me years.
Yeah.
And House of Blood sells well, I
Yeah.
like so it takes years to make money making comics when you're
I'm
doing
sure.
indie because like the print runs are small,
Right.
and so because the print runs are small, and when I say small, it's like you might be printing like you're printing less than 1,000 copies for
Right.
I mean, unless you're I guess at that point maybe you're not indie. I don't know, but
Yeah. It's kind
I
of
mean,
the line has been blurred. I for sure.
yeah, I mean, I don't know. I had legally, I don't know how. I had a comic published by a publisher. They printed 5,000, maybe 4 or 5,000 copies,
Hmm.
and it sold 3,000, and I made $200.
That's
So,
wild.
so yeah, and I pay. I mean, when I say I made $200, I mean like I made $200, like minus the incredible costs that it is to pay for art.
Yeah.
So I'm what negative thousands of dollars on that. And that
That's
was
crazy.
that was a released, in comic book shops that you could pick up. So like I think, yeah, I don't know. Economically, it's like those like that printer. I use that same printer that printed the professional book. Like I use
Mhm.
them, but I think my concern is like I'm not gonna be able to use them because you know Marvel or they're the squeeze. There's gonna be a squeeze, but what I will say to other local or to other comic book creators is that like if you know the dimensions, I think most printers could swing it. You just have to have like you have to have like take a comic book. This is actually that series. I'm not gonna say
Okay.
that legally, but and this is my version of printing it, and it's the same printer. But you can take a comic book and go to like a local printer and say, "Hey, can I get 100 copies of this?" And it might be a little bit more expensive than if you go to like someone like Comic Impressions or Comics Wellspring, or there's a bunch that specialize in comics. It might be a little bit more expensive, but you're not paying shipping, so it's probably goes out in the wash. They might not know the paper like exactly. They might get it like too thick or maybe too thin or whatever, but it'll still be a comic book and it'll still be like an indie comic book, but
Right.
it won't be like as professional as like that. But
Right.
we'll say that like maybe I'm trying to be hopeful,
Right. Yeah. Now, I mean, I think that it's tough because it's just gonna have a big impact, and like DC and Marvel, they can swallow the price increase. I mean, I don't even know if I would say that, because like they can handle it from a corporate perspective, but from a like consumer perspective, like I'm already tired of paying $5 for an issue of like of Batman, right? Like I'm fine paying 10-12 bucks for an indie comic on Kickstarter because it's supporting a comic creator and it's not, just churned. I mean, I love mainstream comics, don't get me wrong, but like it's a different thing. It's different,
You're
I'm
taking the
I'm
words like
okay.
right out of my mouth. I will spend uh, uh, an absurd amount of money on indie comics because I like to support the scene. Um,
Mhm.
and especially if it's in a comic shop, I like to buy them. But just as far as like Marvel and DC, and I consume all of that stuff, but don't tell anyone. But I just use the Marvel app. Like I
Mm.
subscribe to Marvel Unlimited, and I
Yeah. Yeah.
subscribe to DC, and I think I bought one DC book in the last year and a half, and it was just like kind of like
Uh,
an impulse. But I was like, I guess I'd rather read this physically. And then I just give them away because like I'm on the app, I just
yeah. Yeah.
so
I was almost exclusively using just the DC and Marvel apps for a while, and then it was almost like uh like overload of choices. So like there were so many things to read that I didn't know what to read. Plus I do like collecting issues of books that I like. So um like there's some that I'll pull, but then like a lot of Marvel books, I'll just read them from the library, to be honest. I mean, just get them from the library. But it's crazy because like I'll if they make some oversized DC issue for $8, I'm pissed. But if I find an indie comic that's selling for $8, I'm like, sweet, that's a good deal,
that's $2 off of the norm. Like
Yeah.
I saw, well, there was one that I felt like it was a little absurd. I saw one that it was oversized, but it was digital, and they wanted $20 for it. I was like,
It's a lot.
sorry, I can't
Digit
do it.
20 I couldn't pay $20 for a digital book. I think there's just no way. There is one that I have that I talked about on my channel a little while back. It's from this Flying Goats press. It's called The Dead and the Damned.
Oh man, I got that. I
Do
got
you?
that same one.
Do you? This is I think this is
I got
issue.
them both.
Oh yeah, this is issue 2. Yeah. Now yeah. They they're selling them on their website for 15, right? But
But those are
they have a digital version available for like 7 or something, which I think is it's the perfect way to do it, is to have a digital version cheaper. And then if you want to collect the physical copy, I mean, like your margins on I'm in finance, so I'm talking margins now. Um, so your margins on a digital comic have to be significantly better. even if you cut the price a little bit, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to say about margins on, like, when it comes to making comics, you don't make
Mhm.
money. Like,
Well, yeah.
yeah, it's like, because, like, to be honest, the art, I mean, it could be anywhere from $85 a page to $285 a page to $385 a
Mhm.
page.
Yeah.
You know, so, like, you're never going to make it. I mean, House of Blood is good now, but I mean,
Mhm.
it took me like 3 years to make that back, but and I took all of the Kickstarter money, all of it.
Mhm.
I just took it all and I put it on a print run because
Yeah.
I was like, I could sell these at conventions.
Yeah.
So, you know, and it sells really well.
Yeah.
And when you're at conventions, you can people charge, like, it feels weird charging $10 for an issue, but you kind of need to, because if you charge $9 an issue, the people around you like give you weird looks because everyone's charging $10 an issue. And if you're the guy that's like, oh, I'm gonna be like I'm gonna
Undercut.
try to like
Yeah.
charge the $5 or $6 that like a mainstream book will cost, then they're gonna
Yeah.
be like, what is this guy doing?
Yeah. No, and I mean, like, I mean, like, it's not, you don't get into comics to make money, but it's more along the lines of, I want comic creators to make money, both because, I mean, human beings, right? But also because I want them to be able to make more comics, you know?
Yeah, yeah,
Like, if one comic that someone makes does well and it's good, then they'll get to make another one and it'll also be good. Like, and like that's just, that's just how, kind of how you want that to be. But yeah, I mean, it's definitely interesting. I think it's gonna be kind of crazy to see how it all plays out uh over the next, I guess, year or so. But
I just hope,
um
that the printer thing, I don't know. That was weighing on my mind a lot because, what I saw with vinyl and thinking of like
mhm,
it means that the big guy squeezes out the small guy.
right.
And we're
Right.
speaking of this,
Yeah.
um, this is Kelly Williams is the
Yeah.
artist.
Yeah.
He did a cover for
Oh yeah.
House of Blood, or sorry, A Haunting on Mars. And this is actually some dude at this publisher that I'm not supposed to name.
Okay.
Um, they recolored it. So I actually don't
Mm.
know where his original color is, but
I really like the art in that. Oh, okay. Got it. Yeah, I did really like the art in that one. Yeah, I think, I don't know how familiar you are with that publisher. The Dead and the Damned, the Goats Flying Press.
yeah, it's
Um,
um I'm not super familiar. I know the guy. He was
yeah,
the editor, and he might still be the editor of TKO.
I'm not sure. I'm not sure, but
Sebastian Greer.
Sebastian, yeah, his name's Sebastian, but um, he, I think that's going to be a publisher to watch for sure. Um,
Oh yeah,
that book was good, and they have one coming out, The Fables of the Earl King, which is a Junie Baugh book,
oh yeah.
who's fantastic. I mean, so
Honestly, legit surprised that they got a Junie Baugh book because that's
well, I have to wonder if he was working on it beforehand, because he did the Robin book for DC, and then he was on Ninja Turtle, that Night Watcher Ninja Turtles book. I don't know if he's still doing that one. Um, but he's starting to blow up a bit.
yeah.
So, yeah. So, but okay. Yeah. I think that, and I love this panel. I thought it was a great kind of just a shot of all of them taken in New York City. But
Thanks.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
The art,
um,
yeah, man. Dave's like he's awesome.
yeah, yeah. No, the art, yeah, the art was good in this. I liked it a lot. and then the coloring was really, I think it just fits really well. I think you see a lot of colorists just go too dark, I think, and this is vibrant, and it just matches the pencil so well. So
Yeah,
did
so
you say that you did the lettering?
yeah, I do all the lettering.
Nice.
Dave did the colors too.
Oh,
He
nice.
he does both. He's colored like some image books. And
Okay.
it's like, dude, your line work is like insane. And then okay, so another part of the origins of this was like
Mm.
I was like, I need a series that is not tied to one artist. And
Mm.
the I was thinking of like, how am I going to do that? And it's like, well, Marvel and DC do that, but they have like iconic like characters and costumes, and I don't really want to do like a superhero thing. And then I was reading the IDW, and I was like, the artists change on this book like every other like arc or every other issue, or
Yeah.
sometimes in the same issue. And
Right.
so that was another thing for me. And the reason I didn't want to get tied down to one artist is because you don't know about people's schedules, and like you can never like when I feel like with the artists that I'm able to afford with my budget, they're on the cusp of like just becoming like the artist on this, he just does Marvel and DC books now.
Mm.
For it's Rory Coleman. And
Okay.
so it's like that could happen to me, and it
Yeah.
could be on a book that I like care a lot about, and then I would just be like screwed. So like that was part of my thing was, and what actually did happen on A Haunting on Mars, where like there was a pause for like 6 months between doing issues because he was doing like some like Web of Spider-Man or something like that. So yeah, and it's like, well, I can't like, yeah, like I mean, go like that's like your dream job or whatever.
Yeah.
But so
Right.
for me, it was like, well, I can't really do that with like like a book with like human looking characters. But like if it's a Triceratops and
Yeah.
like a T-Rex, like no one like depending on the art, like no one's gonna be like, whoa, which character is this? It's like Archie is
Yeah.
the T-Rex. You
Right.
know,
Yeah. It's
like, you know,
straightforward.
it's like so
Yeah.
anyways,
Yeah. No.
there's
And
another reason.
I took a peek at issue 3. So the artist changes on issue 3 then, because I it seems like it. Is that the
Yeah,
case?
yeah, it's
Yeah.
Ray, Andon, who's,
Okay.
done a bunch of, like done stuff for Ablaze. He's done,
Okay.
and then 4th issue and 6th issue is Sergei Titov,
Okay.
and 5th issue is back to Dave, and Dave does a ton of, there's a bunch of time travel in the final issue, and he does all the time travel, so
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, and so the little bit that I looked into in the 3rd issue, that art it's unbelievably dynamic. I mean, it's just like it made me think of like watching like Dragon Ball Z, but like
yeah.
just like so much intense action, which is awesome. I mean, I think that's just great. And so, but
Cool,
yeah.
thank you. Yeah,
Um,
I'm really happy, and that I mean, it ends issue 2 ends on a cliffhanger, and issue 3 picks up
mhm,
on like a fight scene, and
mhm,
so like I had seen that his fight scene stuff, and so it was like, all right, well, you do
mhm,
it's so clear how fast, like less meticulous, but like more speed, and like when you see that in art, you just like move through the page faster, and you like want to
mhm.
get to like the
Yeah.
fights and stuff. So that was kind of my reasoning there. Though there
Yeah.
is like he does a lot more than just fights. Like he
Yeah, yeah.
a bunch of lore and weird stuff in issue 3 too. So
Right. Okay. Cool. Cool. All right, man. Well, thanks for coming on. I really appreciate it. I will just make sure you send me a link when the Kickstarter's live, and I'll be sure to post it, and maybe you can even come back on, and we can chat a little bit about how the Kickstarter is going once it's live. So
cool. Well, it's in
yeah.
pre-launch, so people
Okay.
that follow, they can follow.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Yeah. If you send me the Kickstarter link, then I'll put it in the video description. So for
Cool.
anybody that watches the replay. So
Oh, well,
yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I sent it. So.
All right, sweet. All right. And so you can feel free. I'm going to go through a couple more books that I read. If you want to stick around, you can. If you want to hop, you can too. Whatever works for you. So.
Sure. I probably got another couple minutes.
Yeah, I was
want
gonna
to see
say
what you've
I'm
been
I'm gonna
reading.
try to do just the next couple minutes. I try to keep it to a tight hour. So yeah. So you saw me talking about Ice Cream Man, so that's what I read there. Now, one of the other ones that I picked up, it was weird. It was a strange week where I didn't have any pulls. But so I picked up X-Men solely for this cover, right?
Oh yeah, I was about to say it's
Because it's
awesome
sick.
cover.
Yeah, and it ended up being, I'm a big Cyclops guy. Like I don't read a lot of X books. I've read like a handful of like the old ones, like some Claremont stuff, some Jim Lee stuff, stuff like that. But I do find it just so difficult to follow the 50 different X books that are coming out. Both like financially and like my brain, right?
Yeah.
So I tend to not usually get newer X books, but I had to get this one, and I loved Cyclops ever since I was a kid watching the animated series, and he's awesome in this. He's fantastic. I have no idea what's happening, but he's cool, and that's
But that
all that
wouldn't be
matters.
different if you had a number 1 because it's X-Men.
Yeah, that's exactly right.
I'm the
That's
same.
exactly
I'm the
right.
same way. Man.
Yeah, no, it's and so I'm gonna be I'm gonna be displaying that cover for sure. So what else did I have? I lost my list here. There we go. So I read, I don't know if you've seen this at all, but Dick Tracy, Mad Cave, started putting out a new Dick Tracy book. They've been doing this with a handful of things. There's Dick Tracy. There's a Flash Gordon series. Dynamite's doing Space Ghost, which has been was one of the books of 2024. It was fantastic. And then there's also Gatchaman, which is based on an anime. I hadn't ever watched the anime, but that's another Mad Cave one. But Dick Tracy has been really good. I mean, so like Alex Segura, he captures that like noir, like that, the dialogue. It's just pinpoint, like perfect for this book. And Geraldo Borges, he does, I actually did a full review on this one, but he did one of my favorite books of last year, No One, from Image. I don't know if you saw that one or not, but it's set in Pittsburgh, and I lived in Pittsburgh for like 10 years. So I have a special attachment to that one. But
is No One is it part of the Black?
Yeah, the
Okay,
Massiverse. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
I own all of those, but I
okay.
I own all of them, but I haven't read them.
Oh, okay.
Because I subscribe to all of the Massiverse. I'm a fan, but I stopped reading because like I was like, where was I? Where am I in this series? And so I have all the books, just haven't read them.
Did you get No One too, or?
Yeah, no, I have it.
Okay.
I have all of.
So,
I told them if it's a Massiverse, it's in my pull, and I buy it.
There we go.
I might not. I haven't read it, but I will read it at some point in the future.
Yeah. No, and I mean, all the Massiverse books do a great job of being like they're in the universe, but they're like pretty self-contained, right? Yeah. I love the way that they do that. I had I don't know where I put it. I had a copy of the latest Supermassive book sitting out here. I'm the worst at putting my comics away, but I love the way that they do that. And then the Energon universe has been phenomenal. I don't know if you've been reading any of that either.
Yeah, I dipped out a little bit, but mainly because of like the Transformers. It was like we fight and then we get beat up and then we recoup and then we fight. And then I was like, why do I not like, maybe that's just comic books. I don't know why it was like sticking to my craw for some reason. I was like, But the art is insane though. Like no matter what you say about the writing, like the Daniel Warren Johnson stuff, and then the person who drew like Daniel Warren Johnson after, it's all amazing.
Yeah,
And I read this one too. I read the volume 1 of this. Is it
yeah.
continuing?
No, this is just a mini series. So
Oh, okay.
so I recently went back and got the trades for this, for Duke. I also got Destro, but I haven't read Destro yet. I love how it's all connecting. I only recently got into like the G.I. Joe stuff. I will say about Transformers, like I still really like it, but you do have a point that it's getting slightly repetitive, right? And I don't think that it's been as good as like the first 2 arcs were since, you know. It does feel a little bit like they fight and they fall back and then they fight again. But I don't want to spoil anything about the latest Transformers issue though. It got I think I ended up giving it like 4.5 stars just because of the last page.
Oh,
So
sick. Okay.
yeah.
All right. I might pick it back up. I mean, I
Yeah.
like Cobra Commander too. I like
Mhm.
this one because he's such like a little, I don't know. You like it's like dark. I don't know. Like the
Mhm.
way they did it, it was pretty cool.
Well, if I mean, you said that you write horror books, so this
Yeah.
is definitely it has some elements of that in it. I wouldn't call it a horror book, but it has those elements. I can't believe that Josh Williamson wrote a book that had this much horror in it. Like the same guy, I like his books, but the way I've always described them is like they're just a little fluffy for the most part, you know? They're like which is why he's good on Superman, you know? I
Oh
mean,
man, I don't know if I would call him good on it, but I would say this was the thing that I've liked the most of his. Like I actually like enjoyed
yeah.
this, but
Yeah.
there's a lot of stuff that I will like if I just kind of avoid a lot of the stuff that he writes.
I wouldn't blame you for that. I liked his Superman. I didn't love it. I'm a huge Superman guy. So like Dan Jurgens is one of my favorite Superman writers. I mean, Death of Superman is and like Reign of the Superman, it's just so 90s. It's so 90s and I love it. And
Have you
it's just
reread it
like
recently?
yeah, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it and it's still like because that was like I grew up on like that is like some of my interest. Like I had the
Mhm.
50s stuff, like
Okay.
that was just like around the house that someone had in a box. And
Yeah.
then we went to the store and we bought what was at the store. And what was at the store was The Death of Superman and Superman Returns. And I like
Nice.
that was like what I read when I was like, I don't know, 8 years old or 9 years old. Blew my mind.
I imagine it would blow your mind at that age too. No, that's awesome. Yeah, I mean, like, I mean, in particular, right? Reign of the Supermen, where I really wish I would love to just like, and I'll include you in this if you were reading it back then, right? Like, I want to know what like because I wasn't reading Death of Superman when it happened, right? Um, I want to know what people were thinking when DC was trying to convince people that Cyborg Superman was Superman, Superboy was really Superman. Obviously, no one thought John Henry Irons was Superman because he was his own person. But the other three, there were legitimate, you know, claims to the throne, so to speak, right?
I like when I was reading it, like I did not think because I read them back to back. And
Okay.
you know, and I was like, no, like there none of them are Superman.
Yeah, yeah.
But like I was like, no, like he like has to come back.
Yeah.
And that was just in my brain. But I think that there were like because I read a lot of history on comics, and I think
Mhm,
that at that time, I mean, as a kid, I was like, oh, there has to, it was like a hopeful thing.
mhm,
But the history recounts of like people that were older than me at the time were very, very cynical about
mm.
the whole thing. So like I don't know if people just like looked at this and they were like, nah about it and angry, like, oh, of course he's coming back.
Mhm.
Or like that none of these like pretenders are him or like really him.
Right,
Not even
right.
like what the what's the one that like steals his body or like
Oh,
thinks
the Eradicator.
Eradicator, man. Eradicator's
Yeah.
so cool. They're also
Well,
the Superboy, so cool.
yeah,
All of the Supermen are so cool when you see them.
everyone needs a jacket like Superboy, and I think that one of the biggest crimes to comics is the fact that they ever took that jacket away from him.
It's
I think
absurd.
that's ridiculous.
Yeah.
But a few people that I've talked to that were reading it had mentioned that they genuinely thought that Cyborg Superman was the real Superman. And like I was reading it after the fact, and Cyborg Superman has been in 5 million comic books since then and is
Yeah.
the main bad guy in every single one of them. And like I get it because he's super cool, right? But he's definitely overdone at this point. I'm so tired of seeing him anymore.
Yeah.
But
I don't know. Yeah,
yeah.
man. I feel like Amanda Waller is the one that I see, and I'm like, she's
Oh, that's
done.
tough.
I don't want to see her again because she's in every book that's like coming out now at DC that like Tom Taylor, and I like Tom Taylor, and then I see that she's in it. I'm like, he's just gonna
Well,
write her. He always writes her.
thankfully that shouldn't be the case for much longer. I don't because if I don't know if you're all if you did
Oh
you
no,
read
I'm always
Absolute
like
Power?
a couple months behind. I'm always like
Okay.
2 or 3 months.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah. So
Well, then I'm celebrating. Like you could just
yeah.
then yay.
Yeah. I don't and like she's not written in the way that she was in like the 80s. It's a different character, unfortunately.
Well, what it's
She
like now is it's like if Lex Luthor was like a power hungry government
yeah.
bureaucrat and doesn't necessarily like I feel like a lot of the writers like they're trying to be like Game of Thrones, but they don't have like an actual like they don't make these characters do like actually smart things. So it's just like you're not actually smart though, because you're not doing anything, like you're just being evil. Like you're just like, I like power, and I don't know, like it's anyways.
Now that you mention it though, all the stuff that Waller's been in lately would have been more in character for Lex Luthor to do it. And they have Lex Luthor. I mean, he's not doing anything really. Although I think technically I saw something that said that he's coming back to being Lex Luthor, but I don't know. It's hard to keep up. So all right, man. Well, I am going to wrap this up. So
sorry, I didn't mean to keep you.
No, you're fine. No, you didn't keep me. I was happy to keep. I could talk comics for hours, days. So, yeah. So thanks for coming on, man. And I definitely love to have you back. And I'll make sure I throw that link in the description. And best of luck to you, dude.
Awesome.
Thanks,
Thanks, Dan.
All right,
Take it
thanks.
easy.
All right, bye. All right, and thanks everyone for watching. Make sure you like the video. Make sure you subscribe. Share the replay if you're watching the replay. And thanks so much. All right, bye everyone.